Okay, let's go.
Okay.
Welcome to this podcast. Today, we are discussing Hearts and Asante Kotoko, the two giants in Ghana football who are languishing currently in the Ghana Premier League, 6th and 7th respectively, after 12 games. We'll talk what has happened to these two clubs in the last 2 decades, whether they can bounce back and would they ever be the same. Joining me today is Felix Romark, a sports journalist who's been covering the Ghana Premier League for a long time. It's going to give us the insights as to what has been happening in these two clubs. Felix, welcome.
Thank you, Princeton.
Thanks for joining us. Let's get into the discussions. How to folk, what has been happening to this club? Uh, they've won the league, just won the last 10 years, if I'm right. What do you think has been the problem running this club, Accra to folk?
Uh, I, I, I think that the main problem with Hasselhoff has to be administration. The administrative structure of the team. They've tried so many times to put things in order. Since the late, let's say the early 2000s and maybe the late 1990s when, they did quite well, winning the 6 straight titles with the late Cecil Jones Atukwe when they went to Africa and conquered Africa, won the Champions League against Esperance, got the Super Cup against Zamalek, won the then newly, Confederation Cup, defeating Kumasi Asante Kotoko to win the Confederation Cup for the first time, the first winners of the competition. I think that they didn't build on that success administratively, because sometimes it's not just about what happened on the field. Because if you look at the administrators that got Hartlepool to that pinnacle of African football and how they really dominate the Ghanaian terrain. They had somebody like the Bese Manche now, Nia Ibonte. They had Ariza Kaur. They had Ernest Thompson. They had the Fawaz brothers. So you look at the quality of administrators that they had back then, and then look at the quality of coach that they had then. They couldn't build on that. They couldn't build on that because they didn't have, administrators who were of equal pedigree to those that I just mentioned. So that was one of the main problems that they faced, and currently they are still struggling to put the club in that administrative structure. Even after they won the league in 2000, when they won the 2008-2009 league, we were thinking that they would build on that, but they couldn't until 2021 season when Samuel Boydu won it for them. And even with that, I think you can say that they won the treble, because back then when Boydu won the league, they also won the FA Cup. And then, in our Ghanaian football calendar, there is a Super Cup, which involves the winner of the FA Cup and the Premier League. And by virtue of they winning both trophies, you can say that they won the double that season, but they couldn't build on that. And even if you look at the team that won out of the title, they had issues in terms of goal scoring. That was one of their major problems. And because even with that title winning squad, you had Barnier Friye, who wasn't really, he scored, I think, 7 goals during that season when they won the league. So it wasn't as if they had a player who was scoring goals for them. So that was actually the genesis of the problem for Accra to Folk. And it saddens me, because if you look at the success of Accra to Folk, it has been built on goal scoring, because gone were the days when you had Ishmael Ado. At the point you had even Dombote and Charles Taylor fighting for the goal king in the same team. You look at somebody like Emmanuel Osei Kufo, even in midfield, was contributing goals to the team. You had a prince of goals, Prince Tego, who was scoring goals. You had Mahatma Otu was banging in the goals, the late Shamokwe. So Hearts of Oak really built their success on goal scoring. So it was quite odd to see them not build on that and look for players that can get them the goals. And throughout. It has been one of their major problems. Last season, for instance, you had Benjamin York, who was their top scorer with 4 goals. And then it was, I think that was a season before. And last season, you had Linda Intange, scoring 4 goals as a top scorer for a club. And the season before that, when they had to go to Aroras and then bring in Hamza Issa, who came in last season, and he did quite well for Hearts of Folk. It tells you that if they concentrate on building Auroras or looking for younger talent, it can help them, because Hamza Issa, first time in the Premier League scoring 13 goals. And I don't remember the last time Hearts of Folk had a striker, scoring. Even when they won the league, they didn't have a striker who scored double figures for them. So for Hamza Issa to score, 13 goals in his first debut season for them tells you that if Hearts of Folk should channel their time and resources into looking for youth, especially in their academy, they could get players that can come and help them. Hamza Issa this season already has three goals. So administratively, that has been their major problem. And the current administrative structure is not also helping. You ask yourself, do they have a scouting department who do their scouting for them? But you look at it, and it seems that this season it's been quite good, because I look at Folk last season. One of their major problem has to be defense, and especially goalkeeping. They had at a point they had Emmanuel, Eric Ofosu, Eric Entry. They had Richmond Ayi. There was Richard Atta. So Folk had a major problem in terms of goalkeeping, and this time around they've managed to solve that by bringing in Benjamin Asari, and I think that whoever decided that Benjamin Asari should be signed did quite a good job for Hearts of Folk, because Asari has brought in some solidity at the back, especially in post. Not just that, he's also brought in leadership into the back four, and they are doing quite well, because if you look at last season's table, I think if I'm right, Hearts of Folk were somewhere 15 on the league log after match with 12 last season, but this time around they find themselves sit on the league log. So you could see the improvement, but the major problem as to why Hearts of Folk is struggling, or why they are not at the level that they are, is administratively. It's a major problem with the administration, and when you don't have a right structure, it will be very difficult for you to get the quality that you want on the pitch. Aside administration, I think that you can point at positive, and the positive has to be infrastructure. If you look at what they've put up at Pobima, if you look at what they've done to their new secretariat, those are positives that you can attribute. And in fact, those positives, you can't even attribute it to the administration of the club. You have to attribute those particular infrastructure to the owner or the majority shareholder of the club, which is Togbi Afede. So, and this time around, they've tried to put up an administrative team in place. But let's see how the season goes, and let's see if they can get Hearts of Folk back to those glory days.
Very well. You talk about the administration, and it brings me back to the previous days, the good old days when they were winning a lot. They had people who were very competent in their roles, especially in the playing body. Jones Atuka was one of the key people who led that charge for them. What has changed this time? Is it that they are not getting the right people, or the system that the club is running now is not favorable in this current situation in Ghana football and even on the continent?
Well, I think that the reason why they are not getting people has to be a general problem, because the league itself has declined. And you look at the people that I mentioned earlier on. These were people who were not just running the club in that administrative role, but they had passion for the club. They had the resources to invest in the club and know very well that their investment is yielding fruits. But Princeton, you ask yourself, how many club owners are really investing in their club? And if you are doing investments in the Ghana Premier League currently, do you think that you reap the rewards of your investment? So the league itself has a major problem in terms of revenue, generation, in terms of attractiveness to people who have the resources to put their money, in the club, and that is one of the major problems. And it's not even just Hearts of Oak. Other clubs are also suffering the same fate. Gone were the days when His Royal Majesty Otumfuo would appoint a club CEO who has money and then they will pump money into the club. But now a lot of people who are well resourced financially are running away from taking responsibility when it comes to football clubs because you might invest, but you won't reap the reward. Some people have money to spend, they are not just in for the profit, or some don't even care, if they make returns on their investment. But if they are investing, the only returns they want to see is winning trophies and all that. But it is difficult, especially for these two clubs. It is difficult for them to win trophies. If you look at the Ghana Premier League over the years, we keep having. It is difficult to even defend the title. Hearts of Oak wins it the following season. Kotoko wins it. You've had the Mediama winning it. You've had Samates winning it. So it is difficult that you bring in money, but then even if you are not getting returns on those money, you are still not getting returns in terms of trophies. So I think that has been one of the major problems why a lot of people who have interest when it comes to Hearts of Oak are not really attached to the club, because one, the league itself is not attractive. So why then do I associate myself with the club? Why then do I bring in money to come and invest in the club? So the interest is not there. The league is not attractive. It's not being marketed well. And another aspect of the truth of the matter is the fact that a lot of people have lost interest with the current administration of the Football Association. So they've kind of, let me just move away from them. And some of the utterances from those that are in charge of our football, oh, it is our association. So if it is your association, then take your association. So people outside will not want to come in and associate themselves with a Hearts of Oak or Kumasi Asante Kotoko, and not talk of putting their money in it. So it's a general feeling of not being interested in the way the league is being run.
Yeah, but you talk to some people, and the suggestion is that these two clubs have to take charge of Ghana football. If you go elsewhere in Europe, the big guys, they determine what is happening. Even though there's the FA administration, Barcelona and Real Madrid have a big say in what is happening in their football. Is it too late for these two clubs to rally behind and salvage the situation, or they just have to hope that the administration comes in and decide to do things that is going to help them get back on track? Because these are the two clubs. If they are run well and they are doing well, Ghana football will be in good position.
Well, Princeton, I don't want to cry more than the bereaved. But you see, and it's sad for me to say this, but the clubs deserve what they are currently getting. I've always been saying this, that just as and you cited a very good example of Real Madrid and Barcelona. These two clubs can decide that, you know what, we are not even playing the Spanish La Liga. Within the year, we can plan football matches across the globe and still make money. If Barca says they are coming to Ghana to come and play Accra Hearts of Oak, I'm sure the ticket is about 500 or 1,000 cities. People will fill the Accra Sports Stadium because they want to see these stars. But then again, the Spanish authority know very well that in terms of transfers, in terms of ticketing, they contribute. Madrid contributes a lot to the city of Madrid in terms of revenue, in terms of financial support to the community of Madrid. They contribute a lot. There is a museum just for Real Madrid. If you want to go to Madrid, if you get to Spain, you want to go to Madrid, the Madrid Municipal Assembly has a tour plan or a tour package for people who want to visit Madrid and visit the Santiago Bernabeu. So these clubs have a huge say in how their football is being managed. But in Ghana, it is rather unfortunate that even at Congress, where it is the highest decision-making body of our football, the players just go there and then just put their hands in between their tie and listen to promises from the Football Association. If we live in an environment where football clubs are being given boots and football, and they are so happy about it, then we have a very long way to go, because if you're a football club and you can't buy boots and boots, then you have no business being a football club. So if Hearts and Kotoko will always go to Congress and then sit aloof and listen to promises from the Football Association and have nothing, they will always ride over them, make decisions for them. Look at the quality of buses that was recently presented to the clubs. Some couldn't even move it to their destination or where they are coming from. So Hearts of Oak and Kotoko, yes, they have a huge say, but their popularity, their strong force and fan base, they are not putting it into use. Imagine if there is a football association congress, and you have Botumfo sending a sub chief there, or Togbi Afede himself sitting at Congress. Do you think the FA president will be making promises of football boots and all that? No. So yes, they have the power to make sure that decisions are made that are favorable to them and to the entirety of the league. They really need to be bold when it comes to decision making in terms of our football and in terms of how the league is being run. And Princeton, I can give you an example. When Star Times signed a deal with the Football Association, every club was getting equal amounts as Hearts of Oak and Kotoko. But you have Kotoko's entire football games being shown on TV. The entire 34 matches involving Kumasi Asante Kotoko and Hearts of Oak are shown on TV. But they share equal revenue with a team like RTU, who probably throughout the season will have about 4 or 5 games being shown on TV. It doesn't make economic and financial sense. But this club sits aloof and then just swallow anything that is pushed behind their throat. So they've allowed themselves to be taken for granted. And that is why I started by saying that I don't want to cry no more than the bereaved. If I'm the CEO, and in fact, I've had an encounter with a crowd of folks CEO that say you can't sit and then allow the FA run the league as if it is their bona fide property. No, they are in charge of the league. Elsewhere, the league is being run autonomous, but they go by the rules and regulations of the Football Association. The Football Association gets their cuts from proceeds and TV deals. But we sit here and everything runs through the FA. They make all the decisions, appointing referees and not even paying referees. But the clubs should take charge. They should decide which television stations show their games. They should decide kickoff times of their games. If I'm in Accra and my club is Accra Hearts of Oak, and you look at the cosmopolitan nature of Accra, you put a midweek game at 3 p.m. Princeton, people are sitting in the ministry in town working. They won't leave their offices to come and watch a game at 3 p.m. You understand? So the clubs, especially Hearts and Kotoko, they have the weight, they have the magnitude of the fan base. They should take charge of the league. They should make the decisions that would be positive and have positive effect of the league. But if they are not doing that, then they will equally be suffering like the lower clubs are currently doing. Hello, Princeton.
Hello, Felix.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, sorry for the interruption. So let's talk about finances and sponsorship for these clubs. For Hearts of Oak, what is the situation for them? Yes, Togba Fede has really done a massive job in investing a lot in the club infrastructure and also financing the club. I know that the last Congress, there were plans to offload some shares on the club. What's the situation for Hearts of Oak now?
Well, Princeton, I'm not an executive of the club, so it will be very difficult for me to talk about the financial standings of the club. But if you're an outsider and you see what Hearts of Oak are doing with infrastructure, it tells you that they have a very solid financial backing, especially from the owner. Because you know how much do you get when you even play in the Ghana Premier League? You don't make a lot of money. So where is Hearts of Oak getting all this money from? They are getting this from the support of the majority shareholder. So If you ask me, I don't think Hearts of Oak have issues with finances because they have a very, let me say, a wealthy bankroller behind the club. But I'm sure a time will come after building all those facilities and all that, they would want to start making revenue, and that is where we will see the actual financial state of the club. Because I don't think Togbi Afede is Father Christmas. I don't think he's doing all these things for free. I'm sure maybe his investment probably might be turned into shares for him in future, and already that is why he has the tag of a majority shareholder, because he's done a lot of investment into the club. And these are some of the things that you want to see. People with the wealth and the might, if they invest in their club, we want to see a lot of infrastructure being put up, and that is what Hearts of Oak is doing. I'm sure that the time will come, Kobe itself will be rented out for other non-sporting activity or other sporting activity, and they probably might want to cut revenue there. But if you talk about Hearts of Oak and revenue, hardly do you hear players complain about salaries not being paid. I think that for Hearts of Oak, they are currently okay when it comes to the financial aspects of the club.
What about the management? So Abubakar Ouattara is in charge now. Obviously, this season is not gone as planned, but it looks like he's had some backing from the top. He's been under pressure, but from the management, there's no pressure to get rid of him. He's given some time. I've listened to Dr. Nyawonya Otamapolo several times that he's mentioned that this man needs time, the players needs time. Looks like this time there's going to be some stability in managing the playing body, isn't it?
Yeah, we can see that because there was times when Ouattara was suffering. Results were not coming. The performance were awful. For the past 3 seasons, Hearts of Oak had to survive relegation the last day of the season. And I don't think that any club owner will want to put the club in that particular situation. And rightfully, supporters wanted him out. But then again, as management, you also have to weigh the pros and cons. Are we going to terminate a contract and pay compensation? Already, we've had issues with Samuel Boydu, David Oklo, all these guys coming in and leaving the club. So I think that for me, Ouattara wasn't all the problem. The problem also has to be with the materials that were available for him to work with. So for Hearts of Oak, I think that it's a good decision that they still stuck by the manager and they believe in the manager, and hopefully they start to reap the rewards that comes with being consistent, in making a decision or keeping a manager. So I hope that they reap the results from that. Hello, Princeton.
Okay, Felix.
Yeah.
We cannot talk about Kotoko. Recently, they've appointed Malik Jaber to lead the technical team. What do you make of that decision and Prosper Ogum's run so far with the club?
Well, I think that it's a very good decision. I don't think that in any serious organization you have a coach or a manager as part of the interim management committee. This is the first time I'm seeing something like that. So it was very, and when it happens, it makes the coach very powerful because he's a management member. So is he going to sack himself? So I think that it was a very good decision by Opemswo, the owner of the club, to make sure that Dr. Prosperity Ogum concentrate on coaching and then let other people handle the management aspect of the club, and then allow the coach to report to the management when it comes to the current state of the club. So it is a very good decision that they have to strip Ogum of the IMC title, let him concentrate on the technical aspect of the game. And Malik Jaber coming in, I think I'm just worried about his expertise, because it is not every great footballer that becomes a good administrator or a manager. So I was a bit skeptical, but they might have their own reason, and also the fact that you have Kwesi Appiah, who hasn't been consistent when it comes to the dealings of Kumasi Asante Kotoko, because he also has a lot of roles. He's currently the Sudanese national team coach. He's serving as an ESCO member of the Ghana Football Association, acting as a technical director or offering technical support to the Sudanese Chan team. So there's a lot of responsibility on his shoulders, and that is why I was thinking that they would even relieve him entirely from his duty as a management member of Kumasi Asante Kotoko. So Malik Jaber coming in, I think he will do a lot of the job when it comes to Kumasi Asante Kotoko.
Now to their performance this season, 6th and 7th, I think the Hearts have had good games against the big guys, Bechem United, Karela. I think Mediama too. But for Kotoko, until recently they beat Aduana FC. What's the assessment on the performance so far this season?
Well, the performance has been bad. You look at last season, I think they did quite well, but this season they are struggling, especially with goal scoring. They are struggling to get goals, and it was shocking, because I was thinking that is one aspect where they really need to beef up, because Kotoko in the last 3 seasons have had goals in the team, and surprisingly, all those goals were coming from foreigners. If you look at Stephen Mukwela did quite well for Kumasi Asante Kotoko last season. He was their top scorer in the league. When Kotoko failed to win the league last season, Stephen Mukwela scored 14 goals for Kumasi Asante Kotoko last season. If you look at the season before that, he was still their top scorer with 11 goals. So, and this season he's left with the goals. Even if you go way back to when Kotoko won the league with Dr. Prosper Nate in his first coming, we had Frank Etuga and Bella scoring 21 goals for Kumasi Asante Kotoko. So in the last 3 seasons of Kumasi Asante Kotoko, we've had a total of about, if my math is right, 56 goals being scored by foreigners for Kumasi Asante Kotoko. And this time around, they don't have a foreigner, and they are not scoring goals. Their top scorer this season has been Albert Amwa. And if you look at Albert Amwa, he scored 6 goals, followed by Emmanuel Enchi, who has a goal, and then followed by an own goal. So an own goal is actually the 3rd highest scorer in Kumasi Asante Kotoko. So their major problem has to be goal scoring. And I'm a bit surprised that Dr. Prospanati Ogum have not found a solution to that. If you look at the Kotoko team in the past 2-3 seasons, they don't just rely on the strikers to get them the goals. If you go way back to Ogum's first coming, you had goals from Fabio Gama. Imo Ibrahim was scoring from free kicks. You had Justice Blaze scoring goals. You had Georges Mfege scoring goals alongside Frank Etuga and Bella. There were goals all over the pitch. Even last season, you can talk about Kotoko having goals from around the team. But this time around, they are failing to score goals. And aside that, they are also conceding. So if you are scoring and you are conceding, you know very well that you have an attack that can score goals for you. But you can't be conceding and also not find an antidote to scoring goals. So that has been the major problem for Kumasi Asante Kotoko. They quickly need to find a goal scorer. And that is the reason why yesterday they signed Kwame Poku, because they knew very well that they need goals. He was one of their top man before he left for North Africa. So it is good that he's back. But if you look at the trend, the past 3 seasons, it has always been foreigners who have been scoring for Kumasi Asante Kotoko. So let's see what Kwame Poko brings to the team. He already is coming into a terrain where he's used to. He's coming into a club where he's been there before. So the transitional period won't be a problem for him at all. But as to if he would be able to get them goals and hit the ground running, we live to see.
Talking of signings, this is a club that had a massive overhaul before the season, and I guess it just doesn't happen easy when you change more than 10 players, or I mean, in your squad. You don't get it easy in the next season. So maybe this might be the a preseason for some of these guys, and we know that they've been playing some other competitions this season. So maybe the next season will be the season they will understand Ogum very, very well, and they'll get things going. Now to the game itself on Sunday, what are the players? Who are the players you look out for at both sides, and what's going to be the determining factors in that super clash on Sunday?
Well, I think for Kotoko, what might really work for them is the fact that they are returning to the Baba Yara Sports Stadium. After adopting the Linkley Sports Stadium in Obuasi, their expectation wasn't met in the fact that they lost a lot of games there. Young Apostles picked the points there. What's the name? Out of Lions went there to get a point. Nations FC defeated them. Brecum Chelsea, they got a point there. So Obuasi wasn't really home for them. So it is good that they are getting back to the Baba Yara Sports Stadium for a very huge game like this. And if you remember, last season they did the double over Accra to Folk at the same venue. All 2 games were played there. They won 3-2 and 2-0 in those games. So it will be a huge factor for them in terms of motivating them. And already when they returned to the Baba Yara Sports Stadium, they defeated Future Star 2-0 in the MTN FA Cup. So, and I'm sure the fans will come out to support them because they've been staffed for some time with Kotoko playing, at the Linkley Sports Stadium. But Asafoko also come into this game knowing very well that they've been doing quite well in recent times. And if you look at their performances away, I don't think that Kotoko will underestimate what Hearts of Folk can do. Because if you look at Hearts of Folk, they've lost only a game. That was when they lost against the BNE Gold Stars. Since then, they've won 3 on the dot. Their last game was a 1-1 drawn game against Insuatroma. So they've been scoring goals. The only game Hearts of Folk failed to score this season was their 0-0 drawn game against Nations, and then against Adriana, and then their 1-0 defeat against Holy Stars and the BNE Gold Stars. But since then, they've been scoring. So I'm expecting Hearts of Folk to score because Kotoko don't keep a clean sheet. And I'm also expecting Kotoko to at least score because they are playing at the Baba Yara Sports Stadium. They are motivated enough to go and go in this game. I'm trying hard to look beyond a draw in this game. I wish there would be a win, but it looks like a draw is written all over this. A lot of people normally say that when Hearts and Kotoko are playing, the form guide is always thrown out of the window. But Princeton, if you've watched the last 5 games involving this team, the best team or the team in form always wins. When Kotoko won the last 2 Super Cup at the Baba Yara Sports Stadium, they were the better team. When Kotoko defeated Hearts of Oak in the Democracy Cup, Kotoko were the better team. So if you come into this game in form and the better team, you win. It's not about any form guide being thrown out of the window. But to summarize this, I think that this should be a scoring draw game.
I remember that Stephen Mukwala brace last season. It was a game that Kotoko were always going to win. They were the better team in towards the end of the season. But as you mentioned, this time it's very difficult to predict. Coming back from the election break, and these 2 sides have not given us a clear outstanding team. So Yes, maybe we'll see how it goes. But finally, you think that this after this game, the winner, or if there's a winner, there's going to be a turning point for that team.
Well, I think most of the time when Hearts and Kotoko play, the winner always kind of want to use that as a form of motivation to get their momentum in the league going, and I think that it could be a huge motivation. Whoever wins this game gets into the top four, and when you are in the top four, when the title aspirations, or when teams are talking about, when people are talking about title contenders, you would be in that conversation. And also for Hearts and Kotoko, I'm sure every season their expectation are that they win the league. They will always be title contenders in every Ghana football Premier League season. So should any of them win, they will surely be talked about when it comes to the title contenders. And we've had moments where in this class, the one that loses, there's so much tension, there's so much division. And I'm sure that if Kotoko should lose this game, the discussion will be now they've returned back to losing games. They've won one in their last 6 games. And there will be a lot of pressure on Dr. Prosperity Ogun, because the fact is they've come back to Barbara Sports Stadium. They are not winning. They were in Obuasi. They are not winning. So where at all are they going to win games? So there will be a lot of pressure on them. And for Hearts of Folk, should they also lose this game, it will be like the 4th straight game that they've lost to Kumasi Asante Kotoko. And I'm sure that that will be drummed into the heads of the players. I know we can't lose 4 consecutive games against Kumasi Asante Kotoko. So we need to really hot that form. So it's a bit cagey, it's a bit close game. Whoever wins will be a huge motivation for them going into the season, or probably going into the end of the first run.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll leave it there and we'll see how it goes on Sunday. Koto against Hartford. Thank you very much, Felix Romark. Hopefully, we'll do this again next time.
Thank you.